The wind carried the sound of her quiet sob before he ever saw her face. 3 trembling notes, snatched by the dusk, drifting over the fence line. Rowan Hale froze mid-stride. He'd heard gunfire, stampedes, and men dying on open ground, but something in that thin, broken sound cut deeper than any wound he'd ever taken. And he knew, before she stepped from the shadow of the barn, that life at Hale Ranch would never again return to the quiet he once believed he wanted. The woman's name was Nalina. Apache. Proud as stone cliffs, eyes sharp as flint. And she was his wife, by treaty, not by choice. The night before, they had stood before her people and his own with no vows, no tender promises, only a tense agreement that her tribe would protect Hale Ranch lands from raiders while Rowan eased the passage of Apache traders through white towns that never welcomed them. A marriage crafted of politics and dust. Necessary. Unwanted by both. Endured by two. Yet Rowan Hale couldn't shake the image of how her fingers had hovered, almost trembling, when she'd reached for the reins of her horse that morning, as though frightened to touch anything belonging to him. He tried not to think of it as he pushed through the store door in the town of Red Crossing later that week. He needed flour, ammunition, linseed oil. That was all. But when Nalina stepped in behind him, the storekeeper, Beckett, let a low, bitter slur slip from the corner of his mouth, too quiet for most men, too pointed for anyone to mistake. Rowan's hand hit the counter so hard the jars rattled. "You'll keep your tongue civil," he said, voice low as desert thunder. The store fell silent. Boots stilled. Breaths held. Beckett lifted his hands slightly, pale and shaking. "Just a remark, Hale. No need for." "She is my wife," Rowan said, each word clipped tight. "And you'll speak of her with respect." Nalina didn't say a thing. She simply stood there, still as carved cedar, though something in her eyes flickered, a small fracture, a hurt she did not show the room. Outside, the street burned gold with late sun. "You shouldn't have done that," she said when they reached the horses. "He insulted you." "He insulted us because you acted as if I required your shield." Her voice was level, but the small tremor beneath it cut him deeper than Beckett's words ever could. "I stand for myself." Rowan bowed his head. He'd misstepped. He saw it now. "I wasn't trying to speak over you," he said. "I was trying to stand with you. And yet you stood in front of me." A long silence stretched. The saddle leather creaked as she mounted up. They rode home without another word. But the silence felt different, thoughtful, not cold. As though her mind worked at something neither of them yet knew how to name. At dawn the next morning, the earth trembled. Hoofbeats, hundreds of them, rolled down from the western ridge like a gathering storm. Rowan stepped onto the porch, rifle in hand. Dust plumed behind a long line of riders cresting the rise, Apache warriors. More than he had ever seen together outside of war. Nalina stood beside him, shoulders tense. "They come for me," she whispered. The warriors thundered into the yard, filling it with snorts, hooves, the metallic click of weapons. Rowan tightened his grip. But she stepped forward first. A tall, broad-shouldered rider dismounted, his braids tied with red thread, eyes fierce with worry. Her brother, though Rowan had never met him. "Sister," he said in Apache. Word traveled fast. "The townsman insulted you. We ride to defend what is ours." Rowan felt 300 pairs of eyes settle on him like a judge's gavel. Nalina took a breath sharp with shame and anger. "There is no war to start," she said. "Rowan handled it." Her brother looked at Rowan, gaze slow and measuring. "You defend her?" "Yes," Rowan said. "You treat her as equal?" "Better," Rowan answered. "Exactly as she deserves." A beat of silence, heavy as anvil iron. Then her brother nodded once. "Then the insult dies. Still, my warriors will stay one night. We will see this place with our own eyes." Rowan swallowed. His whole yard was turning into a camp, fire sparking, horses tethered, drums thudding, a pulse older than the soil. But when he saw Nalina laughing among her people later, moving with ease and warmth he'd never seen from her under his roof, he felt something in him shift. Pride, unexpected and steady. That night, under a thin spill of moonlight, she joined him at the fence line. "You faced my people without fear," she said. Rowan barked a quiet laugh. "I was scared senseless." "So was I," she said softly. A slow moment settled between them, gentle as dusk. "Nalina," Rowan whispered. "I know we were brought together for reasons neither of us asked for, but—" "Rowan," she interrupted, though not unkindly. "I see your heart. Even when it stumbles." He smiled, small and grateful. At dawn, her people rode out in a thundering wave of color and dust. As the last rider vanished into the horizon, Nalina stood beside him, close enough their arms brushed. "Ready to go inside?" he asked. "Yes," she murmured. "Home." Rowan had not realized until that moment how deeply he wanted that word from her lips. A month later, Rowan stumbled across something that would change their lives. He'd followed a wounded steer into a narrow canyon thick with juniper and boulders. The sun barely reached the ground there. The air held the scent of damp earth, untouched by cattle trails or wagon wheels. As he knelt beside the injured animal, a glint caught his eye, light flashing off something beneath a shelf of rock. He brushed away the packed soil. And froze. Nuggets. Several. Heavy and bright as fire in the dim canyon. Gold enough to buy half of Red Crossing. Enough to turn a rancher's name into legend. But this canyon, this land, was Apache land. Not his. He sat back on his heels, staring at the gold until dust settled across it again, as though the earth itself was asking him to walk away. And he did. He buried it deeper, hiding the shine. Then he whispered a promise, quiet, private, binding only to him. "This stays where it belongs." He never told Nalina. Some truths were too heavy to place on another's shoulders. The years passed. 13 of them, worn smooth by droughts, storms, lean winters, and long days in the fields. Their early tension softened into patience, then respect, then something Rowan once feared naming but now held close as breath itself. They became partners, then friends, then a quiet, steady marriage built on more than treaties. They never had children. Sometimes it hurt. Sometimes it didn't. Their love lived anyway. And then, one brittle autumn afternoon, Rowan returned from the north pasture to find 20 Apache riders waiting at the ranch gate. At their head, Nalina's brother. Older now. Gray threaded through his braids. But still wearing the grave authority that could halt a storm. "Rowan Hale," he said. "We come to repay an old debt." Rowan frowned. Debt. The brother dismounted, walked with slow, heavy steps toward him, and knelt in the dust. From a cloth-wrapped bundle, he lifted a single gold nugget, shaped by time, smoothed by the earth. Rowan's breath caught. "That canyon belonged to our ancestors," the brother said. "Our scouts found your tracks all those years ago. They saw what you uncovered. And they saw you bury it and walk away." Nalina, standing nearby, inhaled sharply, shock, then something like awe. "You left a fortune untouched," her brother continued. "Gold is a dangerous thing. It can twist men into something less than themselves. But you chose honor." Rowan swallowed hard. "It wasn't mine." The Apache leader placed the gold in Rowan's hands. Its weight felt like sunlight condensed to stone. "We give you this from the tribe, not for the value, but to say we remembered. 13 winters. 13 summers. We did not forget." Nalina stepped closer, her voice thick. "Rowan, why didn't you tell me?" "Because," he said, eyes on her, "a man's worth isn't measured by what he finds. Only by what he leaves untouched." Her hand touched his then, small, warm, steady. Not out of duty. Not out of treaty. Out of love. The Apache riders departed at dusk, their silhouettes shrinking against a sky-streaked burnt orange. When the last drumbeat faded, Rowan and Nalina stood at the gate as the first stars pricked the dark. "What will you do with it?" she asked, nodding toward the nugget. Rowan looked at the gold, then at her. "Maybe melt it into something small," he said. "Something that can be passed down. A reminder that choosing right matters." "And to whom will it be passed?" she asked softly. Rowan turned to her fully. "To whoever calls this place home after us. Blood or not. Family is chosen as much as born." Nalina's gaze softened. The night breeze stirred her hair. She leaned into him with a tenderness that 13 years had taught them slowly, painfully, beautifully. "Then let us choose," she whispered. And Rowan knew, whatever roads lay ahead, whatever storms or seasons might come, they would face them side by side. The plains stretched quiet around them. Coyotes called in the far dark. A lantern flickered warm against the porch. And Rowan felt, with a deep, settling certainty, that honor had brought him many things. But love had repaid him best.